My friend, happiness is not a grand event. It does not wait at the altar of success or whisper only in the presence of lovers. No, happiness is quieter than we were told. It's the way sunlight kisses your skin when no one is watching. It's the hush in your chest after you've survived a storm you never thought you'd endure. We spend our lives being sold big versions of joy, milestones, money, miracles. But the real miracle is learning to feel joy when nothing big is happening. If you've been waiting on your life to look perfect before you feel peace, this speech is for you. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't theory. It's truth from bruises, joy from ordinary days, and clarity from being cracked wide open. Let's learn how to be happy every day, not just when life is kind, but even when it isn't. They told you that happiness waits at the end of achievement, at the summit of success, behind the curtain of applause. That once you arrive, once your body is slimmer, your job is fancier, your past is further behind you, then and only then will you be allowed to feel joy. But they forgot to tell you something essential. They forgot to tell you that happiness doesn't wait. It walks beside you all along the journey, hoping you'll notice it. Not when things are perfect, but while they are messy, while you are still figuring it out, while your hands are shaking but your heart is steady. There's a lie that perfection whispers into your ears. You are not enough, not yet. It's the reason you skip the mirror in the morning, the reason you downplay your laughter, the reason you hide your sadness behind smiles and say, "I'm fine," when you are unraveling inside. That lie becomes a lens through which you see everything, your worth, your story, your future. But here's the quiet truth that only the soul knows. There is no perfect version of you coming. There is only this version right now, breathing, growing, daring. And if you pause long enough, if you lay your hand gently on your chest and listen, you'll hear your spirit say, "I am already enough, not someday, today." Presence is not a state of perfection. It is a radical choice to be fully here in this moment without editing it for comfort. It is the courage to say, "This is where I am, and this is who I am right now, and I deserve to feel peace in the middle of it." Being present means you stop racing toward a finish line that doesn't exist. You stop sacrificing today for a tomorrow that may never look like the picture in your mind. Think of all the days joy tried to visit you and you were too distracted to open the door. Think of the coffee that tasted like comfort, the stranger who smiled at you in the grocery line, the sound of your child laughing in the next room. Each one a small miracle, each one passed over in pursuit of something shinier, louder, more perfect. We spend so much of our time rehearsing the future and replaying the past that we miss the music of now. We scroll through lives instead of living our own. We try to control what's coming and regret what's gone, forgetting that the only place happiness breathes is right here, in the moment where your feet touch the earth, where your breath rises and falls, where your eyes soften and see what is, not just what you wish would be. Being present is not passive. It is active grace. It is choosing to return to yourself again and again, even when the world pulls you away. It is waking up and deciding that today will not be wasted trying to fix what isn't broken. That this moment, flawed and unfinished, is still worthy of celebration. Let your joy be unedited. Let your days be filled with crooked smiles and half-sung songs. Let the dishes sit a little longer while you dance barefoot in the kitchen. Let the laundry wait while you call your mother, your sister, your friend. Let your inbox be less full so that your heart can be more. Because joy doesn't wait for your approval. It doesn't knock louder just because you're tired. It comes softly, like morning light through a curtain, like laughter on the wind, like breath at the edge of a deep sigh. It does not demand perfection. It only asks that you be here for it. You deserve to feel joy even while your life is still being written. You deserve to smile even when not everything is resolved. You deserve to breathe without explanation. Happiness is not a reward for performance. It is a right rooted in your existence. And the beautiful irony is this: when you stop reaching for perfect, you begin to notice the extraordinary in the ordinary. You start to see the art in the way your loved one stirs their tea, the poetry in how trees sway with no audience, the holiness in folding warm laundry while a song plays softly in the background. That is happiness. That is presence. So the next time you feel the urge to perfect your life before you enjoy it, remember, there is nothing more whole than a heart that knows how to show up fully, flaws, fears, joy, and all. Right now is enough. Right now is worthy. Right now is waiting for you. There will be days when you wake up and don't recognize the person in the mirror. The face may look familiar, but the light behind the eyes feels dimmed. The voice in your mind has grown sharp, critical, unkind. And though no one else hears it, you hear it all day long. Whispers that question your worth, highlight your flaws, compare your quiet suffering to someone else's perfect performance. That voice will try to convince you that it's just being honest. But honesty without compassion is cruelty in disguise. What you say to yourself when no one else is listening matters more than any speech you'll ever give, any achievement you'll ever earn, any praise you'll ever receive. Because your inner world becomes the soil where everything else grows. And if your words to yourself are bitter, how can you expect your life to blossom sweet? Speaking kindly to yourself is not about pretending to be okay. It's about choosing love even when you feel unlovable. It's about wrapping your own name in gentleness. It's about saying to the tired version of you, the broken version of you, the version you don't post for the world to see, I still choose you, even today. You were not born speaking harshly to yourself. That voice was learned, maybe from a parent who only spoke praise when you performed, maybe from a teacher who only pointed out mistakes, maybe from a world that told you you had to earn your right to rest, to love, to take up space. But just because you learn something doesn't mean you have to keep carrying it. Unlearn the language of self-judgment. Relearn the language of grace. When your heart is heavy, say, it's okay to feel. When you stumble, say, everyone does. When you fail, say, I am still worthy. When you feel behind, say, my pace is my own. When you don't believe any of it, say it anyway, because words are seeds. And even when you don't see them sprouting, they are doing holy work beneath the surface. Even when you don't believe the kind things you tell yourself, say them until one day you do. And on the days you can't speak kindly, write kindly. And when you can't write, listen. Let someone else's soft words reach the place in you that forgot what softness sounds like. We often speak to others with more tenderness than we offer to ourselves. We tell friends, you're doing great. Don't be so hard on yourself. But then we look in the mirror and say, you should be farther along by now. Why is it that the ones we love get our mercy, but we give ourselves the harshest kind of truth? Here's a quiet reminder. You are someone worth loving, too. Speak to yourself as if you are. Imagine talking to your younger self, the child version of you. Would you tell that child they're not good enough? Would you shame them for their pain? Would you call them lazy or broken? Or would you pull them close and say, you're doing your best. I see you. I love you. You don't have to do anything to earn that. That child still lives in you, and they still need to hear it. Speak life into yourself, not because it's easy, not because it will fix everything, but because it's healing to know you can be your own sanctuary, your own source of comfort, your own soft place to land. You will have days when your mind is loud with old lies, when you forget your strength, when the world feels indifferent and your own reflection feels unfamiliar. In those moments, speak kindly. not as a strategy, but as a promise. Speak kindly, not because it changes the facts of your day, but because it changes the temperature of your soul. Even if you don't feel like you deserve kindness yet, you need it most when you feel that way. Give yourself the grace you give others. Let your own name be safe in your mouth. Let your heart be a place where gentle words live. You're not weak for needing kindness. You're not silly for talking to yourself like someone you love. You're simply human. And humanity, at its core, is craving love that starts on the inside. So practice it. Every day, wake up and offer yourself something simple and kind. You're here. That's enough. Or, you're trying. That's beautiful. Or even, I know it hurts, but you're still worthy. Some days you'll believe it. Some days you won't. But say it anyway. Say it until your spirit remembers. Say it until the old voices get quieter. Say it until you become fluent in your own compassion. You've survived so much already. Don't let your own voice be the one that makes the journey harder. Be the voice that brings you back to yourself. There comes a time in life when you stop asking for peace and start protecting it. Not because you've grown bitter, but because you've finally grown wise. You begin to understand that not everything deserves a reaction, not every invitation is worth accepting, and not every fight is yours to enter. You start to see that peace is not a place you visit, it's a home you build, and you do not let just anyone walk through the front door of your stillness with muddy shoes and loud opinions. There is something sacred about a quiet mind, something holy about a heart that no longer jumps at every noise, something powerful about being unbothered, not because you don't care, but because you've learned to care about yourself more. You understand now that every time you say yes to chaos, you're saying no to clarity. Every time you entertain drama, you abandon your own center. And the cost of peace is far too great to keep giving it away for free. There are people who will not like the version of you that sets boundaries. They preferred you tired and available. They liked the you who over-explained, over-gave, over-functioned. But growth has a price, and sometimes that price is comfort. You will disappoint others by choosing yourself. Let it happen. You are not alive to manage other people's expectations. You are not here to be easy for everyone. You are here to be whole. Protect your peace like it's your last name, like it's your grandmother's name, like it's the inheritance you pass down to your children. Because a peaceful spirit is wealth, and unlike money, it cannot be stolen, only surrendered. So guard it. Keep watch over it. Be intentional about who gets close enough to touch it. You do not owe access to people who only bring confusion. You do not owe explanations to those who twist your truth. You do not need to stay in conversations that leave you feeling smaller, unseen, unsafe. Silence is not weakness. Distance is not cruelty. Sometimes silence is protection. Sometimes distance is divine. Peace doesn't always look like candles and soft music. Sometimes it looks like logging off. Sometimes it looks like deleting a message before you send it. Sometimes it looks like not proving your point, because peace is more valuable than being right. Sometimes it means choosing to walk away without the last word, because you realize the last word won't fix anything, and the energy it costs you is never worth the receipt. It takes discipline to be calm in a world that wants you triggered. It takes maturity to protect your joy in a place where bitterness is trending. It takes soul to smile when the noise outside is screaming. But that's the beautiful part of growing up. You learn to control what you allow in. You build emotional doors with locks, not walls to keep love out, but gates to keep poison from flooding in. Be mindful of the spaces you walk into. Listen to how your body responds in certain rooms. Pay attention to the tension in your shoulders, the tightening of your chest, the clenching of your jaw. Your body will often feel what your spirit already knows. Trust it. Some places aren't meant for you. Some people aren't either. And peace doesn't always mean making everything work. It sometimes means walking away from what never truly did. Protecting your peace doesn't make you selfish. It makes you a steward of your soul. You are not unkind for putting yourself first. You are honest. You are learning to love yourself the way you've always wanted someone else to love you, gently, fiercely, without compromise. Let the phone ring if the conversation costs you too much. Let the text sit unread if the reply will drain you. Let them misunderstand you if understanding requires sacrificing your sanity. Let them talk if staying silent keeps you grounded. Not every call is your calling. Not every voice is your truth. Not every fire needs your fuel. Sometimes protecting your peace means disappointing someone else. But if choosing you offends them, they were never for you to begin with. Peace is not a prize you win. It's a practice you keep. It's not loud, but it is mighty. It's not fast, but it is steady. It won't beg for attention, but when you live in it, people will notice something different about you, something sacred, something they can't shake. They'll ask what changed, and you'll smile not because you're hiding anything, but because you finally understand something they don't. You found peace, and this time, you're not letting it go. Gratitude is not an occasion. It is not a performance reserved for moments when life is generous or when blessings are obvious. It is a daily decision, a posture of the soul, a quiet rebellion against the pull of bitterness, lack, and longing. Gratitude is not something you do after everything goes your way. Gratitude is something you choose, even when it doesn't. There is something profoundly sacred about waking up and choosing to say, "Thank you," before the world has given you a reason. That kind of thankfulness does not come from shallow optimism. It comes from depth. It is born in people who have lost and still found beauty, in those who have been betrayed and still believe in goodness, in souls who have seen darkness and still seek the light, not because the light is always shining, but because they remember how to look for it. The mistake we make is thinking that gratitude must be grand, that it must be loud, that it must be public or poetic. But often, gratitude is quiet. It shows up in whispers, in the way you pause before a meal, in the way you savor your morning coffee, in the way you say, "I love you," like it's a prayer, not a phrase. Gratitude lives in the unnoticed moments, the breath you didn't know was sacred, the silence that held you steady, the roof that never asked for thanks. We wait for milestones to be grateful, the promotion, the wedding, the healing, the breakthrough. But if you only give thanks at the peak, you'll miss all the quiet mercies along the way. Gratitude that depends on praise is fragile. It collapses when life becomes quiet or when the applause stops. But gratitude practiced daily, that kind of gratitude is unshakable. It holds steady in the storms. It anchors you when everything else shifts. Start small. Thank your body, not for how it looks, but for how it carries you. Thank your breath for continuing, even on the days you didn't want it to. Thank your failures for the lessons they gave you, for the strength they demanded. Thank your past for surviving. Thank the people who stayed. Thank the ones who left too, because their leaving taught you how to stay with yourself. Gratitude turns ordinary days into sacred ground. You begin to see how nothing is truly small. Not the sunlight on your pillow, not the voice of a loved one, not the ability to stand, to speak, to feel. We become so used to what we have, we forget what a miracle it is to have it. Gratitude slows us down. It invites us to notice. It says, don't just live, see, don't just breathe, feel, don't just pass the time, honor it. A grateful heart does not mean you're always happy. It means you're always aware of the beauty woven through the mess, aware of the goodness that remains even when life gets hard, aware of the light still flickering, even when shadows fall. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain. It's about not letting pain erase all that's still beautiful. There will be days when gratitude feels like a heavy ask, days when loss knocks at your door, when your body is tired, your heart is bruised, and the future feels like fog. On those days, gratitude is not a feeling. It is a lifeline. It is a decision to find one thing, just one, to hold on to. Maybe it's the quiet. Maybe it's the fact that you're still here. Maybe it's that the storm didn't take everything. That's enough. Write it down if you have to. Say it out loud. Whisper it through tears. I am grateful, not because everything is good, but because not everything is lost. We often chase happiness, but forget that gratitude is the path. The more you give thanks, the more joy finds you. Not because your life magically improves, but because your eyes begin to change. What you look for, you see. If you search for what's wrong, you'll always find it. But if you begin each day by asking, what can I honor? What can I celebrate? What can I appreciate? You begin to discover how full life already is. Some people pray for miracles. Others live like everything is one. That kind of life doesn't wait. It doesn't need fireworks or headlines. It rejoices in the common. It sees the divine in the daily. It understands that love itself is a miracle, that laughter is a holy sound, that time with those you cherish is a sacred ceremony. Gratitude brings you back home, to your soul, to your values, to what matters. It strips away the noise. It silences the inner critic. It reminds you that you are not behind, not broken, not forgotten. You are breathing, you are becoming, you are blessed. And let us not confuse gratitude with performative positivity. You do not have to pretend everything is perfect. You do not have to silence your grief or sugarcoat your anger. You can be in pain and still be thankful. You can be uncertain and still see beauty. Gratitude and struggle are not enemies. They are companions. Gratitude holds your hand and says, I know this hurts, but we're still here, and that means something. Let gratitude be your rhythm, not just on the good days, not just when you win, not just when you're seen, but every day. Let it be the soundtrack of your life, the hum beneath the noise, the melody beneath the movement. Before you reach for your phone in the morning, reach for thanks. Before you let the world rush in, let wonder rise. Before you measure your day by productivity, measure it by presence. Did you feel it? Did you notice it? Did you give thanks for it? Make gratitude a practice, not a performance. Let it be woven into how you speak, how you walk, how you love, how you let go. Be generous with your thanks. Say it to strangers. Say it to yourself. Say it to the sky. Say it because you can. Gratitude is not a finish line you cross. It is a light you carry. And when you carry it daily, it lights the way for yourself and for everyone around you. There are burdens we carry that were never ours to begin with. Expectations we inherited, guilt we adopted, shame that was handed to us before we even knew how to spell our own names. Somewhere along the way, someone gave you a weight and told you it was yours to bear. Maybe it was a parent's pain, a partner's silence, a friend's betrayal, a world that made you feel too loud, too soft, too much, too little. And without question, you held it. You didn't ask, is this mine? You didn't stop to wonder if your back was built for it. You simply held it because someone said you should. Because love, you were told, meant carrying what hurt. Because loyalty, they said, meant staying until your spirit went quiet. Because silence, they taught you, was safer than saying no more. But there is a moment, soft as breath, fierce as fire, when your soul speaks louder than your history. It says, put it down. And maybe at first you don't hear it clearly. Maybe you mistake it for weakness. Maybe you feel guilty for even thinking it. But it comes again, steady and strong, like a truth you've always known. Put it down. This pain, this pattern, this proving, it was never yours to carry. You were not born to be someone else's container for brokenness. You were not made to be a vessel for someone's unprocessed anger, someone's fear of being alone, someone's expectation that you must always shrink to make them comfortable. You were not meant to spend your life apologizing for your light. What have you carried that doesn't belong to you? Maybe it's the belief that you must earn love, that your worth is conditional, that you are only as good as your productivity, your body, your performance. Maybe it's the voice of someone long gone, still whispering in your mind, telling you you're not enough. Maybe it's the pressure to fix what you didn't break, to heal what you didn't wound, to be everything for everyone except yourself. Let it go, not because it's easy, but because it's time. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean you weren't hurt. It means you are finally refusing to be weighed down by something that keeps stealing your breath. It means you are giving yourself permission to be free, not perfect, not untouched by pain, but free. Free to feel without explaining, free to rest without guilt, free to exist without carrying the world on your back. We are so conditioned to be strong, to hold on, to keep carrying things in silence. But strength is not in how much you carry. Real strength is in knowing when to set it down, when to say, this grief is real, but it is not mine to hold forever. This anger served me, but I no longer need it. This resentment may be justified, but it's poisoning me more than anyone else. You don't have to carry the legacy of dysfunction. You don't have to hold the weight of other people's choices. You don't have to bear the burden of being the peacemaker at the expense of your own peace. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is put something down. You have a right to put down the idea that your voice doesn't matter. You have a right to release the feeling that your presence is an inconvenience. You have a right to stop shrinking just to fit into someone else's narrow definition of who you should be. It's okay to let go. Let go of apologies that were never owed. Let go of trying to rewrite someone else's story. Let go of the need to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. Let go of identities that feel like cages. Let go of the dream that never truly belonged to your spirit, but was handed to you by someone who couldn't see your wings. Put it down. Maybe you've been carrying your mother's silence or your father's absence. Maybe you've held your culture's expectations like armor, too heavy for your soul. Maybe you've swallowed every be strong, every don't cry, every keep going, until you forgot what it feels like to simply breathe. Unburdened, unbent, unbroken. You do not need to carry what was never meant for you. The past will always be part of your story, but it does not have to be the whole plot. You are allowed to edit. You are allowed to release. You are allowed to rewrite what comes next. And letting go is not an act of erasure. It is an act of courage. It says, I love myself enough to be free. I honor what I've lived, but I choose not to live there anymore. You don't have to carry the pain to prove it mattered. You don't have to stay wounded to prove it hurt. Healing is not betrayal. It is your birthright. You are allowed to be new. So breathe. Breathe in the lightness that comes when the burden is finally set down. Breathe in the space where shame once sat. Breathe in the clarity that comes when your hands are free to hold joy again. You are not failing by letting go. You are growing. You are not giving up. You are giving in to peace. And the world may not applaud you for it, but your soul will. It will sing in a language only freedom understands. Some burdens are handed down, not out of malice, but because someone before you never learned how to let go. Maybe they thought carrying pain was love. Maybe they believed struggle was survival. Maybe they never had anyone tell them, you can put it down. But now you know, you are the one who breaks the cycle, the one who refuses to carry pain forward, the one who says, it ends with me, not in bitterness, but in grace, not in silence, but in truth, not in anger, but in liberation. Put it down, love. You were never meant to carry the whole world, just your own soul, and even that deserves to travel light. The world may never remember the titles you held, the money you made, the trophies that once lined your shelf, but it will remember the way you made people feel. It will remember the warmth in your laughter, the gentleness in your touch, the fire in your compassion. It will remember whether you made space or took it, whether you saw people or only looked through them, whether your love had conditions or if it wrapped itself around broken hearts like a blanket on a cold day. At the end of your life, no one will recite your resume. They will tell stories, stories about how you showed up when it mattered, how you stayed when it was uncomfortable, how you reached out with a hand when someone else was drowning in silence, how your laugh changed the temperature of a room, how your presence softened a moment, how you chose to serve not because it was expected, but because it was needed. We live in a world that tells us to chase things that fade, recognition, status, likes, applause, but the soul does not feed on claps. It feeds on meaning. It grows on love. It flourishes in service. It dances in laughter that is honest, from the gut, from the belly, from the place that remembers joy even after sorrow. Serve, not because someone is watching, not because you need a stage or a spotlight. Serve because it is your natural state. Serve because generosity is your spiritual inheritance. Serve because it reminds you that the purpose of strength is not to tower over others. It is to lift them. Real service is not about charity. It's about connection. It's about meeting people eye to eye and saying, I see you. It's handing over not what's left over, but what is full of care. You don't have to save the whole world. Just start where you are. Make the call. Wash the dish. Smile at the tired stranger. Carry the heavy bag. Pick up the trash. Offer your chair. Listen without the need to reply. Speak words that heal instead of words that win. Let your service be simple, sacred, and silent. When you serve, you return to your humanity. You remember that your neighbor's pain is your pain, that your brother's wound bleeds inside you too, that you are not separate, that we are stitched together by the thread of shared experience, shared need, shared hope. In serving others, you begin to mend yourself. You begin to understand that you are not whole until the collective body breathes better. And love, love. Let your love be fierce. Let it be deep. Let it be inconvenient and vast and terrifying and real. Don't ration it out like it's scarce. Don't protect it with armor made from old wounds. Don't withhold it because someone once didn't know how to receive it. Love isn't something to hoard. It's something to spend freely, knowing that the more you give, the more it returns. Not always from the same hands, but always in some form. Love doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to be present. It doesn't always need grand gestures. Often it needs patience, presence, and a willingness to understand before trying to fix. Love listens, love waits, love bends but does not break. Love sees what is unlovely and says, you are still worthy. Love walks with the broken until they remember how to stand. And you must love yourself too, not in pieces, not in conditions, but wholly. You must speak to yourself the way you would to a beloved. You must forgive yourself the way you hope to be forgiven. You must give yourself grace for the days when you cannot offer much to the world, because rest too is sacred, because you cannot serve from an empty vessel, nor love from a depleted soul. There will be days when the world feels heavy, when the news bruises your spirit, when your own heart aches with grief. On those days, laugh anyway, not because everything is funny, but because laughter is resistance. Laughter is light. Laughter says, you will not take my joy. It is the sound of survival, the sound of spirit rising from ashes. It is a holy rebellion against despair. Laughter binds us. It humbles us. It cracks the facade and brings us back to what is real. To laugh in the middle of chaos is to declare that you are still alive, that your spirit is not for sale, that your joy is not dependent on circumstance, but is rooted in something deeper, something eternal, something unbreakable. and laugh with others. Laugh loudly. Laugh without apology. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Make moments perfect by coloring them with joy. Dance in your kitchen. Sing off key. Tell the story that gets funnier every time. Let yourself be ridiculous. Be tender. Be real. In your laughter, others find permission to breathe again. Do not underestimate the healing power of your joy. There are people who have forgotten how to laugh until you reminded them. There are hearts waiting to soften just because you chose to stay soft. There are lives that will unfold differently because you chose to love anyway, to serve anyway, to laugh anyway. Generosity is not only about what you give away, it's about how you give. Do you give bitterly, or do you give with your whole chest? Do you serve with a weary sigh or with eyes full of light? Do you love while calculating the return, or do you love like the sun because that is who you are? Make your life generous. Let your spirit overflow. Let your hands be open. Your words be kind. Your laughter be infectious. Don't count the cost of every kindness. Don't measure your worth by how full your calendar is. Measure it by how many people feel safer, softer, seen because you showed up. And let your life be a circle, not a ladder. Not a climb to the top, but a coming together. A gathering of souls. A table with more chairs. A story that keeps widening. A melody that invites every voice. You will not always get it right. You will falter. You will forget. You will need rest. But don't let the world make you hard. Don't let the fear make you small. Keep serving, keep loving, keep laughing, not because it's easy, but because it's who you were born to be. You are not here just to exist. You are here to overflow. Let the world feel the warmth of your hands. Let someone hear the truth in your voice. Let them remember your laughter when they're standing in the dark. And if you do nothing else with this life, if you don't win the race, if you don't write the book, if the world never learns your name, let it be said that you served with open hands, that you loved with your whole heart, and that your laughter echoed in the hearts of those who needed it most. You don't find happiness by running. You find it by sitting still long enough to notice it was sitting beside you all along. So today, be present. Speak love, protect your peace, be grateful, let go, share joy. Repeat this every single day. And when someone asks you how you stay so happy, you smile and say, I stopped waiting for life to change. I changed how I lived it.